Hello everyone. Uh, Today we'll be dealing with Chinua Achebe's novel Things Fall Apart. Before moving on with the lecture, I would request you all to please share, comment, like, and subscribe to my channel so as to get the content as soon as it is uploaded and to reach maximum viewers. Now, moving on with our lecture today on things fall apart, there are a few things that we deal with. The first and foremost is about the post colonial context in which this novel was written, and we'll also go through the plot of this novel. Now, without wasting any time, we would get straight to the term post colonial. What is meant by post colonial? So, you all know that colonization was a part of history in which the imperial forces from Europe mainly occupied various uh, countries for their own economic and political interests, and they exploited the native people and the native culture. We Indians are also victims of colonization by England. Similarly, as we Indians are victims of colonization, various countries belonging to the continent of Africa are also victims of colonization. One such country is Nigeria. Nigeria is the country to which Chinua Achebe belongs. Chinua Achebe was born in the year 1930, and at the age of 28 he published his first novel, that was Things Fall Apart. And in this novel he dealt with the post colonial situation. He dealt with the aftermath of colonialism and talked about the influence it had on the native Igbo culture of Nigeria. Uh, so it is not just a work of art. This novel is the expression of unique Nigerian, or you may say Igbo, identity. It is an articulation of an experience of the African people. It is an articulation of the native culture. And through this novel, Chinua Achebe seeks to break the stereotype that has surrounded the description of Africa. In order to trace the creation of this novel, the writing of this novel, we need to first go into a little bit of writings about Africa that was done in the English language right from the times of William Shakespeare. Uh, Shakespeare also, for example, in two of his dramas are very important in this context, that is Othello and The Tempest. Othello is a drama in which Shakespeare talks about a Moor, that is a colored person from African origin. Othello is that person. And in The Tempest, Shakespeare talks about Caliban, who is the native of that island which Prospero colonizes. So, right from there, certain ways in which Africa was depicted became the norm in which things related to Africa were shown in literature. All this comes down to Joseph Conrad, who wrote his novel The Heart of Darkness in 1899, and it was called one of the best novels to have been written in English. Now, in all these writings about Africa, Africa has been portrayed as a dark continent, as less civilized than the European counterpart. Africa is shown as a land of maybe a savage race, and much of what has been written about Africa is pure generalization and outsider's view. So, in mainstream English literature, Africa has been stereotyped. It has been subject to various generalizations. Inauthentic portrayal is what we see in most of the writings about Africa. Chinua Achebe sought to undo this. In fact, he sought to respond to it. So he wrote this novel, Things Fall Apart, in which he portrayed the the authentic culture of a country of Africa, that is Nigeria, and in that country also a particular people, a particular tribe, that is the Igbo tribe, Igbo community. So he does not generalize, he does not create stereotype. In fact, he gives an insider's account of what actually Igbo culture is. The general perception in non-Africans is that Africa does not have a well-established culture. They are half civilized. Achebe repudiates this notion. Now we come to the title of this novel. And yes, before moving on to the title, I would like to tell you that this novel, in fact, can be regarded as an example of writing back to the center. All the writings about Africa had been Eurocentric. That means keeping Europe at the center and writing about Africa as it belongs to the periphery. And Achebe tries to undo this. He writes back to the center through this novel. And Things Fall Apart was published in 1958. It is one novel among the trilogy. That is, Achebe wrote three novels. Things Fall Apart. In succession, he wrote three novels. That is, Things Fall Apart, No Longer at Ease, and Arrow of God. These three novels are a trilogy, that is, it talks about the Igbo culture. And Things Fall Apart is the first in that trilogy. It was published in the year 1958, as I've already told you. Now we will see as to what the significance of the title is. Things Fall Apart is a phrase that has been taken from W.B. Yeats's poem The Second Coming. And Chinua Achebe writes the lines of W.B. Yeats's poem, turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer, things fall apart, the center cannot hold, mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. These are the lines that appear in the preface to this novel. Now, what this novel talks about? This novel talks about Okonkwo, who is a very courageous, very brave, very masculine, uh, and enterprising man of the Igbo community. The clan is called Umuofia, which consists of 9 villages. By dint of his bravery, his enterprise, his masculinity, and his leadership skills, Okonkwo is chosen as the head of the Umuofia clan. Okonkwo's father is Unoka. He has died, but he was in his lifetime a lazy and uh, almost effeminate man who spent time in fine arts like music, and who had taken a lot of debt and could not repay them. So, Unoka was not liked by Okonkwo. He did not want to be like his father. In fact, his life, Okonkwo's life, is a reaction against everything that his father Unoka stood for. Okonkwo has 3 wives and he has 10 children. He has a son called Envoy, but he does not like Envoy. Envoy is much like his grandfather, that is Okonkwo's father, Unoka. Envoy is also uh, not very masculine, as it were, and Okonkwo wants him to be more like a man, but unfortunately, Envoy does not um, stand up to Okonkwo's expectations. Okonkwo has a daughter, Ezinma, who is one of his favorites, and he loves her more than Envoy. And he believes that had Ezinma been a boy, she would have been more masculine and more courageous than Envoy. Now, this is about the introductory part. The novel is divided into 25 chapters and it is divided into 3 parts. So, in the rising action of the novel, we find that Umuofia clan has, in a settlement with another clan, received as sacrifice a young boy called Ikemefuna. He is a young boy of 16, and Ikemefuna has been adopted by Okonkwo as his son. Okonkwo likes Ikemefuna, but uh, because he has some strange notions of masculinity, he does not like to show his love for Ikemefuna because he considers showing love to be effeminate, to be a sign of weakness. Now, uh, the Igbo people believed in oracles who made predictions. One of the village elders, whose name is Ezudu, tells to Okonkwo that the village oracle has said that Ikemefuna needs to be killed, and the clan will have to kill him. However, Okonkwo should not take part in the killing of Ikemefuna because Ikemefuna calls him as his father. Now, In the interest of the clan, Okonkwo agrees to the killing of Ikemefuna. In fact, he accompanies the other clansmen who go to kill, who take Ikemefuna with them to kill him. When they attack Ikemefuna, Ikemefuna runs to Okonkwo and pleads with him to save him. But Okonkwo, in fact, stabs Ikemefuna because he does not want to be seen as a weak man, and he does what is sinful. He does the deed that was asked by the oracle that he should not do. This is the sin of Okonkwo. He kills Ikemefuna by himself. As a result, Ezinma falls ill. Okonkwo goes into depression, but things improve as Ezinma later on recovers, and Okonkwo also finds solace in her. However, misfortune strikes for Okonkwo again. This time, what happens that Izyudu, the village elder who had advised the killing of Ikemefuna based on Oracle's prediction, he dies, and his funeral is organized. Men of the clan beat drums and fire gunshots. Okonkwo too fires gunshots, but unfortunately, one of the gunshots kills Izyudu's son. It means that Okonkwo has unintentionally murdered one of the clansmen, and the punishment for this is exile. So Okonkwo is sent on an sent is actually exiled for 7 years. Okonkwo goes to his mother's native village called Mbanta along with his family to live there. Meanwhile, Oberika, who is friend of Okonkwo, visits him, and Uchendu, the maternal uncle of Okonkwo, also helps him establish his family there. However, during this phase, Okonkwo treats his family not in an ideal way. He, in fact, beats up his son, Envoy, and Envoy leaves the family. And he is impressed by the Christian missionaries who have started to settle in those villages. And Envoy also converts to Christianity and takes his name as Isaac. This act of Envoy is seen as an act of ultimate betrayal by Okonkwo. Now, colonization has meanwhile started to appear everywhere in Nigeria. In Umuofia clan, the missionaries come, and they are led by a white man called Mr. Brown. And Mr. Brown is a considerate and kind missionary. He follows moderate means, and because of his approach, a lot of Nigerian people, a lot of tribesmen, they convert to Christianity. However, in due course, Mr. Brown is replaced by Mr. Smith as the missionary, and Mr. Smith is not that kind. He is in fact more strict, and his ways are more authoritarian. and he goes about aggressively campaigning for conversion. Now, what happens is the exile period of Okonkwo is over and he returns to his clan Umofia. Now, one of the Christian converts does an act of desecration in the community. He unmasks an elder who is thought to embody the ancestral souls of the community. This is seen as a very serious act of infidelity by by the tribesmen, and it is also seen as an act of uh, incitement. Now, what the village people do is that they burn down the church. Because of this, uh, the police arrive in the village and they arrest Okonkwo and a few others. During their arrest, they are humiliated, their heads are shaved, they are whipped, and they are let go on paying a sum of 200 cowries as bail. Okonkwo is humiliated. He does not like this. His ego has been hurt. Now, as a result, what happens is that he mobilizes the people, and there is a gathering which could have turned into an uprising. But the white man's messengers arrive during this time, and they warn these people not to uh, get involved in any uprising. Don't act against. They are warned against acting. They are warned against doing anything uh, against the white people. But Okonkwo does not like the messengers coming there, and he beheads one of the messengers of the white man. Now, because of this, uh, there is an absolute anarchy there. The crowd uh, is confused what to do. There are many messengers who had there were many messengers who had come, but only one was beheaded. The crowd which has gathered allowed the other messengers to escape. It means that the crowd did not fight with Okonkwo. They believed that Okonkwo had not done the right thing. Okonkwo's legitimacy as a leader is challenged. Okonkwo now realizes that these people will not listen to him because their culture has changed. For all the years he had been in exile, and for all the years the missionaries came and propagated their religion in that community, the mindset of the people had changed. This revelation discourages Okonkwo, in fact, disheartens him, and he commits suicide. When the police come to arrest him, they find him hanging. So, this is how the novel ends, with the death of Okonkwo. So, this is a very tragic tale about African culture, African identity. It is about the fall of the native African culture and the usurpation of that culture by the missionaries, by the colonizers. So, this is all we would talk about in this lecture. I once again request you to please subscribe to my channel and like my videos if you find them beneficial. I'll see you again in the next lecture. Thank you.